biggest mistake that brands make is social media is the cheapest form of marketing. People want convenience. You have to be authentic, not even just influencers or people. Brands also want to go viral, but chasing that virality for the sake of it, it's a trap. I don't want all of the posts to be a hard sell. AI can't dream for us, cannot be replaced by a robot or by a tool. Hello, everyone. My name is Micaela Naidoo. I'm 24, Durban-based social media manager, but at my core, I am a storyteller. I find inspiration in little things like a great book, a random conversation, or even just when a song hits right, that sparks an idea for me. When it comes to social media, I'm all about strategy and creativity. It's not just about throwing content out there, it's about making real connections and making sure that there's a personal note in all of the work that I put out. I focus on platform-specific strategies, content creation, and community management, basically making sure brands aren't just talking at people, but actually having conversations with them. In this podcast with Simanye, we're going to be discussing all things social media, from the storytelling aspect to authenticity, influencer marketing, brand strategy, measuring success on social media, and basically the future of social media management, including the topic of AI.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It was pretty good. So I have to give it up to you.
Thank you.
It was pretty good. But it's really an honor to actually have you on the podcast. It's something, if you remember clearly, we were supposed to have it. It was last year, right?
Yes.
So the fact that we actually had the chance to do it, that is just something on its own. So thank you very
100%.
much for that.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, now just to begin with this, I think it would be a bit unfair if we were to simply just dive in without giving people a bit of info regarding what we're going to be discussing. And that all basically starts with, for people that do not, or let me say, are people that do know that there's something that is called social media. They don't exactly know how. They know that social media exists. They know that you need to post on social media. They know that, they know that social media exists. They see people posting on social media, but they do not exactly know what they need to actually do on the platforms. And since we're going to be trying to get into the brand aspect of it, what would you say on your side is social media, and especially the role that it plays for brands or for businesses?
So I would say overall social media, the usual apps, the common apps, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, even something like WhatsApp. WhatsApp, not so much, because you can't really use WhatsApp as a form of advertising. But basically, social media to me and to anybody who works in the industry, social media is the cheapest form of marketing. So it's, compared to other forms of marketing, it's a different type of digital marketing, and it's a whole different ballgame in social media. So to put it in terms that people who have social media would know, when you go on Instagram or Facebook, or even Twitter, LinkedIn, sometimes you see something that comes up when you're scrolling through your stories that says promoted. It's a story or a post that says promoted. That is something that social media managers are in charge of. Basically, making sure that these ads reach target audiences that the brand needs it to reach. So, for example, if you are a 34-year-old male living in Johannesburg and you have a corporate job in F&B, that would mean you make part of the demographic or target audience for somebody who is looking to invest, an investment company, for example. So as the social media management team for an investment company, it would be our responsibility to and then go onto these apps, the background of it, not as a content consumer, like I say, more of a content creator, and basically get these adverts out to you. So these are sponsored posts, they're promoted posts. They have various different functions. Some of them are just for reach so that people can understand what your brand is, who you are, like what your company stands for, those kinds of things. And then on the other side, they are generating leads. So if you see something you're interested in, are you going to click sign up here and then fill in your details and then have somebody contact you about that? So you get different types of marketing, and like sometimes you get these like SMS marketing, for example, email marketing. So I'll just use SMS marketing as an example. Sometimes a life insurance, you get an SMS saying, get covered today, life insurance or a funeral policy. And it says click yes to opt in and stop to opt out. And then that would be something where you're generating leads, because the minute you click yes, somebody's calling you to talk about it. So with social media, it's a little bit different because you fill in a form online or sign up, or it'll take you directly to their website where it has a contact us sheet. And then that would be where the company has a first point of contact. Not necessarily first point, but first actual face-to-face or over the phone conversation with you. But social media is, to put it plainly, the cheapest form of marketing. And I would say it's quite effective, especially with the rise of social media usage and people becoming more dependent on social media to find brands and companies and things that they need. So, yeah.
Okay. You found the best way to put it. And on my side, I couldn't have put it the way that you did. And you mentioned something which I fully agree with, which is social media is the cheapest form of marketing. And that is one of the reasons I'm saying you've put it in a way that I couldn't have thought of. Because that's true.
Yeah.
It is the cheapest compared to your
Traditional marketing.
billboards, to your billboards. Yeah, um,
Mhm.
it's quite cheap
It is.
because what you spend on television and if you take that same amount and put it into social media, you know, but this side there's just a lot that is not guaranteed. So I think
Yes.
which is when you got to the point where you fill out a form,
Mhm.
you get, that goes back to this side. There is some sort of a you can be able to track the investment that you make. This side you
Yes.
cannot exactly track it, you know.
100%. It's
So
just an estimate. Like a billboard on a highway would be, okay, 40,000 cars pass here every morning. That's how many people are going to see it. But what's the actual metrics that you're using to track that progress? Don't get me wrong, like social media goes hand in hand with a lot of other marketing um, techniques or tools. I think that it has to go hand in hand with traditional marketing, like newspapers and stuff like that, because there are people who don't have access to social media. But it is definitely a cheaper alternative, but also an alternative where you can track and keep a record of what you're actually posting, um, and the reach that it has. But definitely, yeah, I would say it is the cheapest form of marketing.
yeah, that is really true. Um, and on my side, I think it's one of the most favorite forms of marketing
Mm-hmm.
due to what it can actually do for you, And
Yeah.
yeah, and at the very same time, um, as social media is actually constantly evolving, and what may work on one platform, it actually doesn't work on the other one, you know. So
Mhm.
on your side, how do you actually approach creating specific strategies that not only amplify a brand's voice but drive an engagement?
So I would say the biggest mistake that brands make is assuming that all social media platforms work the same. Like you can't just copy and paste content from one platform to the other and expect it to perform well or even just perform in general um, everywhere across all the platforms. Each platform has its own vibe, its own culture, sort of, you know? So, what I usually do is first look at who we're talking to on each platform and how they engage. So, for example, Instagram is a very visual, fast paced platform, right?
Yeah.
It's all about aesthetics and reels and short captions. But then LinkedIn, on the other hand, is a totally different ballgame. It's a whole different space. It's more thought leadership pieces, storytelling, and giving value in a professional but human way. And then you have TikTok, where honestly, brands that try to be too polished don't do well. You need to be casual, reactive, and feel real. It's more about making sure that your content is tailored and not just repurposing it and hoping for the best. So I would say figuring out who your target audience is for each platform and then tailoring your content specific to what each platform culture is, for example.
Sure. Um, and I think you definitely got into that because and one thing that I have to mention, for the people that are going to be watching this interview, there's a part that they're going to be hearing at the start of this interview, which is it's something that you said. You said you said most brands. What did you say? I don't know the exact words, but it had a hook part in it. So I'm definitely gonna take that part. I have to, just in case you see it, just know that this is where it
The
came from.
biggest mistake that they've made.
Exactly. That one. That's a very strong hook. You know,
That's important for a social media manager to know.
exactly, you know. So I'm just that person who loves hooks big time. Um, but just to get to what you're saying, um, I fully agree with you. You know, I
Mhm.
fully agree with you. And just to make an example, now let me just take SP Media Empire for example. Now we have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have YouTube, we have what else? I don't know all of them, but it's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, not that much, and then it's LinkedIn, right? Now these three actually are the biggest ones that I would say we were utilizing. So what we did is we tried to test what we posted on Instagram, on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and what was posted on LinkedIn, we tried it on YouTube.
Mhm.
Now you would think since we posted things that are very effective, which have a lot of value, they all worked, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And the reason why they didn't, you mentioned it, which
Yeah.
is with different platforms comes different responsibilities.
Yeah.
And there's no way of putting it. It comes with different responsibilities. If you would think that now that you're using Instagram, you're going to be posting the content that you're posting on TikTok, and then it's going to perform the same way that it does on, it's not going to work, you know?
Yeah.
And same thing goes if I post something on YouTube, if I take that same content that is on YouTube and then I send it to LinkedIn, it's
Mhm.
not going to work, right?
Yeah. 100%.
It may work if let's just make an example. I take the video, I turn it into a newsletter, then I post it on LinkedIn. It might work that way,
Yeah.
which goes back to you need to know how to structure every single you need to know the structure of each platform and how to utilize it.
100%. Yeah.
Because sometimes it's
That
not
is,
a matter of what you post, but it's how you post it.
yeah.
Right. So,
Another thing that I would like to add on to that is, for example, I've seen influencers or just content creators on, for example, Instagram, post a little snippet of a YouTube video that they make, and then they have a link to say, watch the full video here. I feel like sometimes people do click on it and it does work out, but most of the time, especially with like a younger generation, if you look at the Gen Zs, um, even just speaking about myself, it does cause a little bit of audience frustration, if I can say that. Because I'm coming to this platform, I'm following you, I'm looking at your videos, and now you want to send me to another platform. You also see it with people who do part one, part two videos. People want convenience. They don't want to go out of their way to watch a video or to consume content. They want it in one place, and they want it to be as concise and informational as possible, but not overloading them with information. So I think that's also something that is important to note when you testing out different ways of social media and different platform specific strategies. So if you feel like posting a snippet on your Instagram is a way to get you more views on YouTube, sometimes it might not work because your audience wants something completely different. But obviously that comes down to your audience and the metrics that you are seeing on your side. But from an audience point of view, I think that you have to consider the pros and cons of it.
true. And just to add to that, um, sometimes it is also just a matter of knowing who you are targeting, knowing your ICP, basically your ideal customer. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't know your ideal customer, then it tends to be very hard for you to be able to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are someone that posts today you post about marketing, tomorrow you post about relationships, dating, you post about
Mm-hmm.
you post about cars, you post it's very hard for you to get the people that you are that you want, the
To
exact
build your community.
exactly, which means
Mm-hmm.
now even if you can try to send a person to another platform, they will not understand the value of what you're trying to do because that person loves your content that is that is maybe about cars,
Yeah.
not the dating one. Maybe that person
Mm-hmm.
loves the dating, but not the the marketing or the business. And
Yeah.
that's another thing that plays a huge factor in it, which is important. Why you need to be very specific with the content that you create, especially as a brand. I don't know if you
100%.
with that.
Yeah. You have to be authentic. You have to have your own niche community, like your subject that you focus on. If you're a makeup content creator, a beauty content creator, stick to that. If you do want to dabble in other things, you can be like have two different type of content that you want people to indulge in, but then there your community would be split. So it won't be okay. I have even micro influencer, 10,000 followers only for my that are interested in beauty, or 10,000 only specifically interested in relationship or dating advice. It would be a split. So could be 5,000, 5,000, or 7,000, 3,000. So that's why it's very important to have an idea of what exactly you want to post and then work on building your brand on that.
True, that is true. Um, and now that we are in that part, I think you thank you for getting in it. Yeah, that I have to say. And now while we're still there, and you've tried to dive into it, um, in terms of the authenticity side of it, I have to again agree with you there. And the reason why I am, it's because if you are not authentic with the content that you're creating, if you are not trying to make sure that the people that are watching your content, the people that now here's the thing. When people are watching your content, they are spending their time. There's other thousands of people that are creating the same content that you are creating. Now, if you are doing the same thing that everyone is doing, how will the people that are trying to get what you want and the people that you are trying to get, how will they be able to know that, okay, this person is different in this certain way, if you don't actually get to a point where you create content that is authentic? So,
So
okay.
yeah, I would say it's a very see in most situations, even if you look at like somebody who's seeking out social media management as an influencer or as a content creator, a lot of the time the first thing on their mind is I want to go viral. I want to be viral. I want to get followers. I want to do this, do that. So I actually this is an interesting topic to speak about because not even just influencers or people, brands also want to go viral, right? But the thing is, chasing that virality for the sake of it, it's kind of, I would say it's a trap. You can follow every trend, you can hop on every meme, but if it doesn't align with who you are authentically, it just comes off as forced. Um, Something that I always believe is that virality is a moment. So, but authenticity is what actually builds connection. And that's what you want with your audience. You want an authentic connection with your audience, with your followers, with the people who are consuming your content. People can feel when something is gimmicky versus when it's real. And honestly, sometimes the most authentic content ends up being the one that blows up anyway. Because it's different, it's things that people are not seeing on their timelines all the time. So if you think about some of the most successful brands, at the top of my head, Duolingo comes. It works for them because their whole personality is just chaotic and unhinged all the time. It's not just them trying to go viral for one post and then going back to being a corporate brand the next day. It's being consistent and it feels real. So I think the key to balancing this is understanding your audience and what they actually care about. Like, yeah, play into trends, but do it in a way that makes sense for your brand specifically. For example, a luxury fashion brand like Louis Vuitton or Versace um, shouldn't be making risky memes or political memes like Nando's. But a fast food chain, that's a totally different story. They can do it if they want to. At the end of the day, I think that visibility of your brand means nothing if people don't trust or connect with you. And that comes down to being authentic. So, yeah, going viral is good for you, for your social media, for your presence. But if you're not building a real relationship with your audience, then what's the point?
True. True. And something that I just have to ask you, um, I think this question, it's a question that I normally ask myself a lot. I even ask my team this question a lot. And it's for someone to say that they are viral, how many yeah, let me just ask that question. Do you do if let's say you viral, do you track it in terms of I got 1 million views, 1,000 views? How is it that how would you say that the virality part is tracked? Because that's the question that I ask, especially my team. I ask them a lot that question.
Yeah.
So yeah, on your side, how would you say that you you
So, um, Personally, I don't think I've experienced that with a brand that I've worked with, but just as from a social media management point of view, I would say virality is not like going viral is not something that you can determine, and it's a set um like metric that you can use. Like, okay, if we hit 1 million, that means we're viral. I think it's something that sparks conversation. So if something that you post is sparking conversation amongst other people, that means you're going viral. If people are engaging with your content more because of something that you posted, that would mean you are going viral. I think in terms of like likes and shares and stuff, of course, that would also be part of the going viral metric or measurement. But also just in general, like profile views, how many people are viewing your profile, how many people are actually purchasing the products or services that you're offering. So in terms of going viral, it's not really converting, like there's a difference between going viral in the sense of this is the content that I post and this is what people are talking about. And then there's going viral where, oh my God, Stanley Cups, for example, that became a huge thing in South Africa. Prime, that went viral in South Africa on social media, and people were buying that. So there's the sales side of things, and then there's the actual performance on social media side of things. So I think it's a very varying measurement when it comes to going viral.
Okay. Okay. That is um that's the first time I'm actually hearing that type of an explanation, which totally makes sense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's the first time I'm hearing that, and and while I was listening to you, I was also just trying to, that thing when someone is saying something, and then in your mind you also trying to put it into action. Uh,
Yes.
that's exactly what I was doing on my side, because it totally makes sense. And as I'm saying
Uh-huh.
this, is because most brands, of course, as you mentioned, like Stanley Cups, like Prime, um, you know, that's basically what happened. They went viral, right? And then
Yes.
also on the sales side, it was good. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's also the side of the engagement, right?
Yes.
But on my side, here's the question that I have for you. Uh, do you think that uh, now on the side of the million followers and so on and so forth, on your side, do you think that that is something that brands should try to make sure that they get, or
That's also comes back to like my previous response about being authentic versus being viral. Um, I don't think that that's something brands should chase. They should try and build a community amongst themselves, amongst their niche, um, and basically just kind of feed them with the content that they want. So I think that it's chasing something that is not really a big deal. Because I also recently wrote a blog post, and it basically said, followers don't matter. Here's why. And there were a whole bunch of things that said, like, having a 1 million followers or even 100,000 followers doesn't mean you're going to get 100,000 sales. It doesn't mean you're going to get even 10 leads from that. You have to make sure that you're building a community and you are selling your product to these people or marketing your product to these people in a way where they will see, okay, I have a problem and this product or service is a solution to my problem. You're not just putting content for the sake of it and hoping it goes viral. And then you're also spending a whole lot of money to make sure that these posts are boosted or promoted or sponsored or whatever it is to make sure that it reaches people. Um, just making sure that you have a brand that is authentic is big itself. And if you are an authentic brand, and you put out these messages to your community of people, I think that you do have the possibility to go viral. Because also look at what, like, we use Prime as an example. In South Africa, it went viral. There were people importing Prime from overseas and selling it at 300 Rand a bottle, 700 Rand a bottle. People were buying that because it was a well-known brand and something that we didn't have in South Africa, and obviously wanting to try it and stuff like that. As soon as it came to Checkers, it was flying off the shelves for about 2 weeks, and now it's constantly on sale in Checkers or other stores because it's not something that South Africans want to consume all the time or have all the time. I think that that's also something to note because it was so quick to fly off the shelves and it was viral. But how much did they actually make from going viral in the months to come, or even in a month to come? So I think being viral is good for at the moment, but long term, will people still want to engage with their brand if you're not viral? That's a question that you have to ask yourself.
True. And I think, let me not say I think, I know, the example that you made, it was a very powerful one, and to be honest, uh it was the best example that you could have made.
Mm.
And also on my side, just to add to what you were saying, um the you can have you can have a viral brand, it can go viral, it can do all of that, but at the very same time, you need to, and this I have to be too specific, with every content that you create as a
Mm-hmm.
brand, as a business, even if you're building your own personal brand, it needs to be, you mentioned this and I did mention it too, you need to try that, you need to make sure that the content that you're creating, it is specified to your niche. And
100%.
at the very same time, there's, now this is something that I tend to see a lot, and I think we can have a discussion around that,
Mm-hmm.
which is most brands, they sell more than they give value, which which now tends to be, or let me say, in most times that tends to be a problem for
Mm-hmm.
many brands. And as I'm saying this, I'm saying this with an understanding of, if you are creating content, 80%
Mm-hmm.
of your content needs to be value or
Mm-hmm.
value based, and then 20% of it needs to be where you sell, basically, you know.
Yeah.
And on our side, we make sure that it's 5% of selling, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
95% of value.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to get to here is, it's important that you do that, because
Mm-hmm.
if you sell more than you give value, the people that you are trying to get, they will not resonate more with your brand, because
Yes.
there's nothing that you are giving out to these people, but you're just shoving them with, buy this, buy that, this, that, it's that whole entire thing. There's no
Yeah.
value given there. So on my side, I also would say that going viral is not important.
Mm-hmm.
What is important, it is to be specific with the content that you're creating. If, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, you are a construction company, for example. I know for a fact no one in the construction space listens to this, but that's just an example, you know. Um, if you're a construction company, it's simple. You can create content that gives value. And by value, I mean, you share videos on how much it costs to build a house, how to build a
Mm-hmm.
mansion. And this is something that I actually was sharing on a book that I'm writing. you need to share value, a lot of value. Uh, uh, how to build a house, how much does it cost to build a pool, uh, tips and tricks on how to of a DIY kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You do all of that, and then now how I would say you would need to structure it. If in a month you creating about now this thing I'm saying it for YouTube, because I'm just more into that side. If
Yeah.
you're creating content, let's say on YouTube, 10 times a month, that's not most what most people do, but just an example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're creating 10, then what you can do is 8 of those videos you are giving value, and then two
Yeah.
of those videos you are selling,
100%. Yeah.
right?
I think that's also something that is important when I do like content management. Um, I don't want all of the posts to be a hard sell because I feel like it's not something that people are going to want to read or even interact with. Sometimes when it's too much of a hard sell, like my team and I, if we're brainstorming ideas or we're trying to come up with concepts, we're like, this doesn't sound good. It feels like too much of a hard sell. These posts that are meant to be engagement posts where you ask a question and you spark a conversation with your audience, or where you are giving fun facts or you are educating them about your specific product or industry that you work in. Um, so these are the things that you do need to touch on, and that's exactly what you were saying, like tips on how to build a pool, or this is what you need to know about this. And then that 1 or 2 posts in a month need to be, these are our services, this is what we can offer you. But you don't, in those 2 posts, you don't just start listing off all of your services. You focus on one specific thing for that post and then a specific thing for another post. Because obviously, if you have a construction business, it's not just that you building walls around people's houses or that you are building a pool. So it's multiple things that you are doing. So it's better to focus on one specific thing also, so that you don't run out of content in the months to come, and that you can thereafter like have lots of things to talk about with people. And also I was trying to figure out ways, a brand of ours that I was working on my job, um, they needed a social media refresh. And I was thinking, okay, for example, a digital marketing agency, how can we have a list of services, maybe about 7 different services that we offer. Those 7 services, we need to post at least 3 times a month, every month, about them. How do we then post about these 7 services every month without it becoming repetitive or boring? Because sometimes the tone and the message will be just very monotonous. It would be like the same thing over and over again. It's like you're recycling content. That's where other things come into play. You focus on these did you know things or tips or even blog posts. Um, like, for example, what are the biggest trends that are going to be happening digitally in 2025, or AI, or influencer marketing, or changes on different platforms? Like, those are already 4 different topics that you can talk about, or for different variations that you can use to market your services for each of those 7 services. And that gives you so much content to put out. And then you just change it up based on every year, and you make sure that you're keeping with current trends and topics and things like that. Even a construction company, what are the biggest things that are currently happening in the construction space? What materials and tools and stuff are being used? Sustainability, environmentally friendly, those kinds of things. You spark those conversations with people. So I think it is definitely about making sure that your content is not just a hard sell, because then people will be like, not happy with that.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand that.
Mhm.
So with that said, you mentioned something which I think we should just try to get into. which was you mentioned you got into influencer marketing a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think let's just try to dive into that part, you know.
Yeah.
Um, with your background in strategic brand communication, how do you determine when influencer marketing is the right move for a brand? What are the key factors that make a collaboration successful?
So I think everyone thinks influencer marketing is finding somebody who has a lot of followers and then boom, instant success for their campaigns or for their company, but it does not work like that. With my PR background and from a PR background and brand communication perspective, um, what really makes an influencer campaign work is three main things. Are they a good fit? Like, do they naturally align with the brand, or is it just a paycheck to them? You want somebody who has the same values, same, even overlapping audience as the brand, um, basically making sure that you're aligned in all aspects. Of course, the tone and message and stuff doesn't have to be the same, like the tone and messages that the influencer puts out all the time, but making sure that it somewhat overlaps. So making sure that it is naturally aligning with the brand. The second thing I would say is, does the audience match the brand's audience? So the influencer's audience has to match the brand's audience, because you can have, as an influencer, you can have 500,000 followers, but if they're not the right people, then it's a waste of time. Because if I want to promote, for example, we continue with the construction example. If I want to if I'm trying to build a mall and I'm a construction company and I need to work with an influencer to say, this is the update so far, and this is what we're doing, and Build It Construction is such a good brand. I'm not going to go to a beauty influencer and say, please promote this or come onto the site and do this, because it doesn't make sense. And then the last thing I would say is the engagement real? And that's a big question. Very touchy topic, but brands would rather, or should rather, work with micro influencers who has like 10,000 loyal followers, than someone with 1 million followers who barely even gets interactions. You see influencers who have these big followings, and they do have over 1 million or over 2 million, and their posts just don't perform. They get minimum 100,000, and in metrics or in analytical terms, that's not actually good performance. When it comes to performance and engagement, there's engagement and then there's reach engagement rate. And with the reach engagement rate, that is basically how many people has your post reached. For example, if you have 1 million followers, if your post reached 700 people, out of those 700,000, sorry, out of those 700,000 people, how many people actually commented, liked your photo, saved your photo, or shared it? And that does a calculation, the reach engagement rate. It's a percentage, and it'll show you how many, like sometimes it ends up being 5% or 3%, because it is very seldom that you see, like a post reaches you, but you don't interact with it because you're not interested in what this post is saying. So I think with engagement, it's very important to make sure that these interactions that these influencers are getting are in fact real and authentic. Back to the authenticity topic. But overall, honestly, influencer marketing, I feel, in my opinion, is modern PR. It's about relationship building, and I feel like the best brand influencer partnerships feel organic and not forced. That's when you know that you've nailed it, because it won't feel like it was just a job for the influencer, or it was just a campaign for the brand.
Sure. That is true. Um, and you know what? There's something that I'm starting to notice. On my side, I seem to agree with everything that you're saying. You
I'm
know,
glad.
I seem to agree with everything that you're saying, and I guess it's because of there isn't anything that you're saying which is wrong.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things. But just to get to what you're saying, I think that is really true. Uh, because there can be people that have 2 million followers, and then there's people that have even people that have 10,000 to 10,000, no, yeah, 1,000 to 10,000. Sometimes
Mhm.
even with those people, it's good. Even if you have, let's say, 5,000, if you have loyal 5,000 followers from those 10,000, or let me say from those 5,000, if let's say half of them, they, yeah, let's say half, or let's say 70% of them, right? They do come in, there's some sort of movement, they like, they follow, they do all of that, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And now from that 70%, if you had to say, let's count the 1% of them, or let's say 10% of them, 1% or 5% of them, for a product like construction, where if you
Mhm.
get a job, that job is worth um 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, a million, 5 million, 10 million, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
5% of that audience, I mean, that's just something on its own. So
Yeah.
that, that goes to, sometimes it's not about the big numbers, but it's about the person that has people that do what that person says, or people that believe in that person, people that are loyal to that person. You know,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
seems to be the best way. Now, there's something that I wanted to ask you here, and since I'm looking at the time, I think it's the best thing to ask you. You did
Mhm.
mention something here, when you were discussing a bit about the social media management side. You tried to dive into boosting and running an ad.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. Now I have to get to that part. I've been waiting for this one. I've been waiting for this one. It's just that we just had a good convo there.
Yeah.
But now I'm coming back to that between a boost post and an ad, which one would you recommend?
So a boost post is basically a form of an advert. So it's not necessarily different things. Um, a boosted post has these like different, the word that I'm looking for is outcomes. They have different outcomes. Like I mentioned before, some of them are reach, some of them are brand awareness, some of them are leads. So with a boosted post, I think that it is more reach focused. So if you want your post to reach more people, then you would boost the post. But with an ad, running an ad, that's a whole different. You can do multiple things when you run an ad. Um, Personally, I have only worked with Facebook ads management and running ads on there. So when it comes to seeing results on that side, you do get results. I mean, you do get a lot of reach and you get clicks. I've worked with a law firm who I did run ads for in a research company. That you get a lot of people clicking on these things, and most of the time they're people who have um, some, like for a research company, they have their own business who wants to do market research, and with this, they start looking for market research companies, and then they start getting suggested promoted posts and posts to do with the research companies. Of course, algorithm is a whole different thing when it comes to social media. It's something that I'll never be able to explain or understand in detail. But I think that in terms of algorithm as well, that determines whether or not you make part of the demographic or audience that people set. Of course, it's things like when you sign up for an Instagram account, what are the details that you're putting? You're saying you're a male, you're 30 years old, you live in KwaZulu-Natal. Those things there can make a part of an audience. And then there are other things like things that you're searching on, things that you're liking, things that you're saving. Look at your explore page, what comes up when you go onto your Instagram explore page. For me personally, it's food, it's makeup, it's travel, it's those kinds of things. You know, my comfort content. Those are the things that I look at. So I think with ads, it's a very different. It's not very different from boosting posts, and I don't think that there really is much of a comparison. But with measuring success as a whole, a lot of the time people get caught up, and it goes back to the viral or measuring virality. People get caught up in vanity metrics, which is like, we got 1 million likes, we got 400,000 comments. Okay, but did those likes do anything? Did they convert into sales? Did they build loyalty? Did they get people talking about your brand outside of social media? Because that's what actually matters. So when it comes to analytics and measuring social media success, it is less about the numbers and more about the impact. So things that I look at, and I know I'm straying away from the initial question, but it's like engagement quality. So are people just liking the post, or are they actually commenting or sharing or having real conversations on your post? Another thing we look at is sentiment analysis. So it's, what are people saying about the brand? Because you can get 1,000 or 10,000 shares, but if they're all saying, wow, this is so cringe, or wow, this is so bad, then that's not great. Conversion rates, are people clicking through? So that would mean the thing we spoke about in the beginning about filling in forms. So are people clicking through? Are they signing up for your newsletters? Are they making purchases? Are they booking consults? Are they going onto your website? What is the goal? And whatever the goal is, are people clicking through? Are people following through? And then the last thing is customer retention. That obviously is every business's main goal. Is social media actually helping build long-term relationships with customers? Or are we just attracting people who engage once and never come back? That's also something we've touched on, where it's building a community and being authentic and making sure your content is tailored specifically to your audience.
Yeah.
So social media is a business tool, not just a hype machine. So yeah, likes and shares are great. But what I always ask, or what I always say, is, what's the bigger picture? How does this fit into the overall strategy of a brand? Because if a campaign looks good on the outside but doesn't move the needle in a meaningful way, then was it really successful?
Just to add to what you were saying, if with the boost post and also the ad, I've done both of them, right? And unfortunately, on my side, I've gotten to a point where every client that we currently have, I've told them actually to stop using a boost post. So no client every client that I have, they don't use a boost post. We use ads, specifically ads, because of what you were saying, which is a boost post. It is an engagement ad. You know, it's not a conversion ad. Some
Yeah,
people
it's just promoting an existing social media post. With ads, like posting an ad is more comprehensive, like detailed targeting and campaign management and stuff. That's when you would use an ad. But a boost post is basically just promoting a post that you've already published.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I've really stopped them from doing it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think now that you shared that, I fully resonate with what you were saying. Um, but looking at the time right now, I think I can just only ask you one question. Um,
sure.
I can only ask you one question. Now, before I can ask you this question, oh wait, yeah, before I can ask you this question, there's something that okay, no, I was actually gonna ask you a question, but let me don't. So yeah, um, so the last question would be, what is the future of social media on your side? Because we have AI, we have automations that are playing a bigger role in marketing, So where do you see the future of social media? Not social media management, but social media. Where do you see the future of it?
So I think it's a constantly evolving um, tool. And it's such an interesting topic because, yeah, AI and automation are changing everything. And don't get me wrong, it's an incredibly helpful tool. It makes things faster, it's more efficient, and honestly, in social media, it can take a lot of the busy work off our hands. With in terms of like scheduling, data analysis, even generating basic content ideas. But AI can't dream for us. And this is also something that I've previously spoken about. I do have a post on my LinkedIn talking about it. Um, late last year, I went to visit my sister in South Korea, and that's obviously a very technologically advanced country. And sorry, when I was in the National Science Museum in South Korea, I saw a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, and it basically said something along the lines of, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And it's a beautiful quote, like just if you think about it. But in terms of it being in the fourth industrial revolution, AI and automation section of the museum, it hit me because at the end of the day, all this technology and tools are just that. It's just a tool. It can process information, but it can't create meaning. And that's something that is cannot be replaced by a robot or by a tool. It can mimic trends, but it can't tell stories that actually connect with people on a human level. So I think that in the future of social media, and that is aspect, is going to be a balance between using AI to streamline things, but still keeping the human creativity at the core. Because people don't follow brands for perfectly optimized algorithms. They follow them for personality, for emotion, for stories that make them feel something. So, yeah, AI is a game changer, but let's not forget that it's human imagination that makes the game worth playing in the first place.
True. Yeah. So one thing that I have to ask, is there something that um you would want me to probably ask you that I did not ask you, that you still have in mind at the moment?
Now, I think we covered quite a lot in this session, and I'm happy with the questions asked. I think that it was all very informational and good to just talk about it. I think social media has been something that has interested me from when I was working in PR. I figured out that PR is, for me, for a lot of people, it might sound a bit weird, but for me, I felt like PR is a very mature route to go through. And somebody being fresh out of college and starting a PR job, I just felt like you had to have experience under your belt to work in a PR job. It's so fast paced. You think about crisis communication, you think about press releases, events, influencer campaigns. Like there's a lot that's going on, and it's all just quick. And then from there, I realized, I'm very interested in the social media space. Um, I'm still yet to become an influencer. I'm finding out what's the best way to do that. Um, but that's something that I've always been interested in, and even like trying to create my own content. But I'm still trying to find my niche. And I think that I've learned a lot in the past 2.5 years. I've been working in the social media space. Um, my honors degree, my research project for my honors degree was um, whether there's a correlation between social media advertising and consumer behavior. So that was also something that gave me more insight into how social media affects us in our buying behavior. And then just every day learning something new about social media. Um, and now I'm just waiting to see what the next chapter is going to be, possibly my master's. But until now, let me just savor the moment of finally getting my honors degree done.
Okay. And definitely looking forward to that too. Um, but yeah, thank you very much for being on the podcast. You've shared quite a lot of value, and I'm just hoping that the listeners, they will find value in this, and hopefully they don't just listen, but they also implement the information that has been shared on this interview. So
Thank you.
yeah, so just I know I will insert the links down below, but where can people find you?
So I am on LinkedIn as Micaela Naidoo. I have every social media app imaginable as a social media manager. But TikTok is Megan.Micaela with two A's at the end. And so is Instagram. But if you are looking to connect or chat more about the social media space, I think that LinkedIn would be the best place to do that. Yeah.